was like, just drive around.
The special meeting that we had, number one, is states I was absent, which I was. Number two, then states I was at the meeting for 3:43. I didn't leave early. That was the day I came in late because I had a meeting. So I came after that meeting, so I was here about 3. So I was absent, and so then I'm doing it. I'm like, that's cool.
Diet Coke.
I just started talking about leaving early.
I don't know.
Anyway,
You showed up.
after
After her.
maybe I went to the bathroom at 4:43, but that was supposed to be we ended up remember. So, anyway.
All right, good evening, folks. I'm going to call to order the Board of Aldermen meeting, July 7th, 2022. Would y'all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Alderman Becker.
Here.
Alderman Schuman.
Here.
Alderman Rucker.
Here.
Alderman Ross.
Here.
Alderman Morose.
Here.
Alderman Epstein.
Here.
Mayor Huntington.
Here. All right, we have a quorum. We have no mayor's communications tonight, so we're going to move on to citizens' communications. This is the time set aside on the agenda for citizens and visitors to address the mayor and board on any topic that is not a public hearing. For those here in person, speakers will be restricted to 3 minutes unless otherwise permitted. Minutes may not be donated or transferred from one speaker to another. Visitors attending online will be in listen-only mode. Any questions or comments for the mayor and board may be sent to the city clerk at tberreth@osagebeach.org no later than 10 a.m. on the board meeting day, which is the first and third Thursday of each month. Submitted questions and comments may be read during the citizens communications section of the agenda. The Board of Aldermen will not take any action on any item not listed on the agenda, nor will it respond to questions, although staff may be directed to respond at a later time. The mayor and the Board of Aldermen welcome and value input and feedback from the public. Is there anyone here in person who would like to address the board tonight? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I did not see you. Come on up, please, and sign in if you would. All right. And we have a clock to help you at 3 minutes, please. There you go.
Good evening. My name's Mark Beeler with Pinnacle Real Estate Partners here at the lake. I'm the broker that has been working the transaction from Simons to the Foster Legacy Group. And I'm not here to argue or take an adversarial position at all. I'm here as a concerned citizen for the Lake of the Ozarks. Several years ago, when the new highway went through, the west side of Osage Beach was decimated. Property values plummeted. Banks started calling notes on mortgages. It was a really tough time for the lake, really hard time. And then as things start to recover a little bit, we go through the recession. A lot of foreclosures happened. It was a tough time. And during these times, the sales tax collected by the city as well as Camden County plummeted. It had to be difficult to balance the books. It had to be difficult to create a budget, really not knowing what the income was going to be for the upcoming year. No way of knowing. Then we had the good fortune, if you will, of COVID. COVID comes to the lake and the lake just blows up with activity. It's a vibrant, fun, happy place for people to come to. People relocated to the lake because it was the lake. It was an exciting time. There isn't anybody in this room that owns property that has not benefited from what has happened over the last 2 or 3 years. Nobody, in terms of your real estate value. Nobody. So now we're faced with a time and everybody's going to have a different opinion of what the impact is going to be of this recession. How long is it going to last? What's the impact going to be on the sales tax revenues? We've already started to see fewer and fewer people coming to the lake. They're not driving as far, or they're not boating as far. They're not driving as far. They're not buying as much. All of those things are happening as we sit here tonight. And we have before us an opportunity to redevelop the outlet mall, something that's going to create sales tax revenue, 700 construction jobs, 700 new jobs at the outlet mall. This is huge. It's huge for this economy. It's huge for the lake. And we don't want to sit back on our laurels and think, you know what, all this sales tax revenue that we weren't expecting over the last few years is going to continue, because it's not. It's not going to continue. We have to find other sources of revenue coming in order to balance the books. Now, there's been a lot put in the press about what happened. What happened? What happened when we go from 100% approval from the TIF Commission to essentially what is right now a dead project? A lot of questions. There's been a lot in the press about it. And there's no point in debating. Can I continue? There's really no point in debating what happened. There was a lot of miscommunication. Communication that should have happened that didn't happen. And it's unfortunate. And I hate to think that a project this big for the city is going to go up in flames because of miscommunications. And let me give you one very good example. The developers will sell the bonds, they'll issue the bonds, and there is no recourse to the city.
Mr. Beeler, I thank you for your time. I will be happy to meet with you after this,
all right,
but this
I'll
is a
just drop
hearing.
that section.
So please, if you would, bring it to a conclusion here soon. I'll be happy to meet with you later, so we're not keeping everybody here for the rest of the night, please.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. I guess I would implore the Board of Aldermen to reconsider where we are today. I think it's worth a little bit of time and effort to give it another shot. It's too big a deal. We want people to come to Lake of the Ozarks with an open for business sign. And all of these people that have relocated here to be full-time are expecting a certain level of services and amenities. And unless they have them, they'll move. And I think one of those is shopping. Now there's a component.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Just one last thing.
All right. You told me you were going to close this up soon, so I appreciate you sticking to that. That'd be great. Thank you.
Am I allowed to go on or no?
Yes, please. If you would wrap it up soon, though.
There's a component in retail sales called a pull factor. And what a pull factor is when a pull factor is larger than one, you're selling more products and services in that area than what the consumers are expected to consume. Anything less than one indicates that the people are having to go outside of the area to get the consumer services and the products that they need, and we're well below one. We used to be 1.25.
All right. Mr. Beeler, I thank you very much. I thank you for your time, and I'll be making some comments on this very matter at the very end of the meeting under mayor's comments, so I appreciate you here tonight. Thank you. All right, is there anybody else who would like to address the board? Yes, sir. If you would please put your name up on the board, or on the paper, and Tara will have a 3-minute clock for you to help.
Go for it. Write as fast as I can here. My name is Brian Ivy. I moved out here from Southern California in 2014 with my family. I left a job that was higher in corporate, whatever. I came out here just to be a schlub, just to be a regular person. Through different jobs I've had since I've been here, I found myself at the mall. I'm a disabled veteran. Not a lot of things I can do, but I found a company who I can work with at the mall who's allowed me that opportunity that will help me with those certain things. So just some stuff I put together. My wife and I are both employed at the mall. I work for Clark Shoes. My wife works for Loft. She's almost a full-time. I mean, literally she's part-time, but works pretty much full-time there. Without the mall, for me, it would be hard to find somebody who will give me the accommodations that I currently have with the company I work for. Granted, I'm a low-risk employee because I have a disability from the VA, so they don't have to worry about medical for me. But there's a lot of people at that mall who depend on the things at that mall for their medical. I know a couple people that they've talked and voiced their opinion about, you know, neurosurgery for a wife and breast cancer treatment for another lady. My big thing is has the city thought of how many lives are affecting by not trying to come to some sort of agreement? To me, I can't fathom why you would not want to have some sort of thing go forward with this in one way, shape, or form. And I said, if the city is just waiting to see if there can be a better solution, I don't know if it would be in best interest for us, because inaction costs us citizens money and jobs, potentially. And I can't imagine, you know, I've lived in towns in Southern California, I've been out here, I've seen with things gone, how empty it looks. Since Woods left, there's nothing over there. Since Izzard's True Value is gone, nothing over there. It just kind of, to me, it's like a cancer that's moving down Osage Beach Parkway. Now it's making its on its side of the east side of the bridge. And now we're potentially, if we can't come to some sort of agreement with this development, we're looking at 60 acres of blighted property. And I just can't imagine that being a good thing, looking for the city of Osage Beach and for us that live here and work here. I'll try to bump through here as quickly as I can. You know, $400,000 condos starting at the Topsider, just built on right, you know, or I don't know if they're already open for occupants, but you got $500,000 condos going in there. Now you're gonna have, if we don't do anything with the property, now you're gonna have blighted property, 60 acres of blighted property down the street from it. It doesn't look appealing when you're moving into a $500,000 condominium. And I just can't figure, since, let me just close one thing. I can try to extend this, I don't want to extend it any farther. If we don't go through this, what are our plans for the future for the property? And if the future of the jobs, of our jobs and our city's prosperity is in your hands here, and I'm sure you guys are aware of that. And make sure you're on the side of good. And just one thing I remember reading in the mission statement, I won't go through it, but the key points. The key points is openness and integrity, which I think you guys are very open, and I think you guys have a lot of integrity. Also on that is appealing place to live and work. That is your mission statement this year. And lastly on that is a premier Lake of the Ozarks visitor destination. I have people from Illinois, Iowa, Arkansas, all the states around us that come out here and have been coming out here since that mall opened in 84, 85. And I've only been here since 14, so these people have been here much longer than I have. But I appreciate you guys taking just the few minutes to listen to me and giving me that little extra minute to get that done. And I just hope you guys plan on the side of good for the rest of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else like to speak this evening? All right, and I am going to be, as I said, going to be addressing the mall project at the end of Mayor's Communications. So that's not on the agenda right now, but I will be giving you some positive information about that, I hope, at the very end. So I hope people stay with us online too. So, all right. All right, moving on. The consent agenda. Alderman Morose, is the liquor license in order?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. If the board so desires, we can, the consent agenda may be approved in a single motion. It's the minutes from the Board of Aldermen meeting of June 16, 2022. It's the minutes of the special board meeting June 8, 2022, the bills list July 7, 2022, and the liquor license for Nick's True Value Hardware Store. Do I have a motion to approve? No, we do not.
Mr. Mayor, I do have some revisions to the meeting minutes for the June 8th special session. First, I am noted as being absent for the meeting. Although I was late to the meeting, I was in attendance. Further in the meeting minutes, it states that I exited the meeting at 4:43.
That was the strategic planning meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the second set of minutes, not on the
Okay,
first set.
so the
Yeah.
first- okay.
Yep, and then also, go ahead and then I'll tell you.
Anyway, I was just going back to the exiting the meeting early. I wasn't aware that I had exited any of the meetings early, so just wanted to clarify that.
On the strategic meeting, you took off, you had to leave early. We didn't leave until about 5 and you left early before then.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
Yep.
All right. Any other changes, corrections?
No,
All right.
No, the June 8th, sorry, not to argue on this. Sarah, the June 8th meeting was when I arrived at 11:30. I came just prior to lunch. I had a prior engagement with my employer for a meeting at 10. Came directly after,
I remember that because you showed up in time for lunch.
for Taco Bar.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
That's it. Let's see here. Didn't I add that on there? Let me go back.
Sorry, folks, just a slight correction.
No, that's okay, let me find it. 'Cause I thought I added that on here. Okay, I will fix that and change that you came at 10:30.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Anyone else? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
All right, Alderman Rucker. Alderman Ross, second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. All right, we only have one item of unfinished business. It's Bill 22-40. It's an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, approving a professional service agreement with the law firm of Gilmore and Bell for services relating to the consideration of the Tegetoff Development Project, the Preserve at Sycamore Creek, Chapter 353 and Chapter 100 proposals. This is the second reading. City Attorney Ed Rucker, please.
Mayor, Board, this is ready for for your vote on the second reading. I've had no other comments or other information. This is necessary so that we hire Mr. Spikerman and Gilmore Bell and proceed with this project consideration.
All right. Any comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve second reading? So moved. Alderman Becker, do I have a second? Alderman Morose. Roll call, please.
Alderman Rucker,
Yes.
Alderman Ross,
Yes.
Alderman Schuman,
Yes.
Alderman Osteen,
Yes.
Alderman Rose,
Yes.
Alderman Becker.
Yes.
All right. Motion carries. Bill carried. All right, moving on to new business. We only have 5 items tonight. I guess only 3 items. We have first is a public hearing regarding the satisfactory progress of the Marina View, Deerbergs, Arrowhead, and Osage Beach Commons tax increment financing plans. Again, City Attorney Ed Rucker, please.
Yes, Mayor, members of the board. Missouri statutes require that every 5 years you review TIF projects that you have approved where you've adopted a TIF plan and a redevelopment plan. This is mandated by the statute. It's a public hearing as well, so I'll just give a brief summary of where we are on these projects, and then I believe the mayor will open it up for comments. If anyone else has a public comment. There's no action per se to be taken, but this is an accountability measure the state legislature has adopted to make sure that we at least pay attention to the ones that we've passed previously and that you follow up on those. So here goes. Arrowhead. The Arrowhead Development Plan, which is at the west end of the city on KK, you all know, comprised of 8 separate redevelopment areas. It was passed about 5 years ago. Only redevelopment project area 1 has been built. That is the Arrowhead Assisted Living Center. The other areas have not been built yet. TIF has not been authorized in the other areas. In other words, there's no tax diversion going on. Nothing is happening in those areas. Those areas essentially are unaffected by the existence of the TIF plan until TIF is authorized. We won't be authorizing TIF or suggesting you authorize TIF until the developer comes back to the city and says, here's what I want to build in Area 2 or Area 3 or Area 5 or something like that. So otherwise, that's going, and the nursing home is there, and it's built. Deerbergs. Deerberg's plan redeveloped where the defunct Walmart store was and the shopping center on site. That plan's completely built out and is open for business. I should also add that Arrowhead is a pay-as-you-go project. In other words, there are no bonds issued. The developer doesn't get any money unless the developer actually makes something happen there. Deerberg's is also a pay-as-you-go project, and they are receiving some monies through the payments in lieu of taxes and through the economic activity taxes as approved, but that money only goes to pay them back for costs they've already advanced. The next project is Osage Beach Commons. Osage Beach Commons you can see coming out of the ground right now. That's where the Hobby Lobby will be opening next month. The center was behind schedule because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Originally, it was supposed to be completed earlier than it was. However, COVID-19 did throw everything into a state of flux. The developer requested and the city granted an extension on the construction schedule and the improvement schedule. The developer has met the extended schedule. This is also a pay-as-you-go plan, and as these projects open up, the developer will begin to get some of their costs advanced back. The next is the Marina View project. The Marina View TIF project was a John Q. Hammons Hotel project that essentially would be off Passover Road behind the boat dealership. Carrie, what's the name of that?
Power Sports.
Right, Power Sports. Because Mr. Hammons passed away before construction could proceed, the Hammons Company never proceeded. The Hammons Company has been basically liquidated through other litigation proceedings. And this board terminated the Marina View TIF plan by ordinance in July of 2021. So that that project is done. The city did not spend any money on the project. The city did not lose any money on the project. Some of you may recall there was extensive litigation concerning the Marina View TIF. That litigation was paid for by the Hammons Company. The Board of Aldermen did not spend any money on attorney's fees for that litigation. Hammons defended the plan themselves. Okay? The final one that was adopted is Pruitt's Point. There really isn't a report necessary because this has all been wrapped up, but Carrie Bell and I decided we wanted to include it because it was the one that's been successful, wrapped up, paid off on time, on schedule. This project did involve bonds that had fully been paid for by the revenue of the project, and everybody can find Pruitt's Point and it's there. Mayor, that's the summary of the plans we have. I think at this point, unless the board has questions, we can take public comment if anybody has a comment.
All right. Any public comments? Comments, questions from the board? All right. Thank you, Mr. Rucker. All right, next we have a presentation, and this is the Osage Beach Fire Protection District about the upcoming sales tax proposal. Matthew, you here? Are you going to do speaking for him? Okay. Carl, if you don't mind, sign in, and
Yes.
The floor is yours.
My name's Carl Blankenbecker, and the four of us are with Citizens for Lower Property Tax, and I'm just going to give you a quick review of what we're trying to do with this whole sales tax initiative that we've got on the August 2nd ballot. So currently, Osage Beach protects 105 square miles in Camden and Miller counties, including the city limits Osage Beach. We have 4 fire stations. 2 of them are manned 24 hours a day, and 2 of them are what we consider outlining stations. We have 8 firefighters assigned each shift with a minimum daily staffing of 6. So 2 people can be, whether you got somebody off sick, vacation, etc., training. We've got a deputy chief on duty for each shift. We've got a fire chief, an assistant chief. We've got a fire marshal, 2 inspectors. We've got an office manager and a part-time secretary. So why am I here? Well, currently the district's operational budget is funded solely from property tax. We collect 74 cents per $100 of assessed valuation of your property. Until 2021, the property tax was 77 cents. there was a lawsuit called Blankenship versus Franklin County, which impacted all Missouri's fire districts. Our tax rate was reduced to 74 cents, negatively impacting our budget to around $385,000 over the past 2 years. This unexpected rate reduction, along with rising costs of all the operating expenses, puts us in a position of managing an unacceptably low capital reserve budget and struggling to provide the same level of operational service expected from this organization. At the same time, our current call load is up, wear and tear on large apparatus. The community growth justifies a need for a couple of EMS quick response units. If we would receive the additional revenue, we need it to fix our current operating budget, to meet the rising costs, to reduce the tax rate in 2021 due to the because of the tax loss in the 2021 Blankenship and Franklin County lawsuit. Operational enhancements would include 2 small first response emergency medical units that are necessary to keep the increasing demand of our services and to fill an extremely urgent need for additional staff on emergency situations. We just had the 3 house fires down Y Road a couple months ago. We showed up to that call with 6 firefighters. It's just too much for us, these condos that we're building. Capital replacement program includes short-term replacement of old fire apparatus and equipment, ensure appropriate and regular replacement of frontline equipment without the need of asking for the taxpayers for funds in the future. So how do we fix it? Well, in the past, we've always asked the property owners to pay more personal property tax. But last November, the voters made it clear that they didn't want to pay any more property tax. I don't want to pay more property tax. You don't want to pay any more property tax. I get it. So in the Missouri Revised State Statute 321, which is fire district, under .552, it allows fire districts to ask voters to approve a sales tax to fund the fire district that will subsequently reduce the property tax value, the property tax rate annually. So we're asking the taxpayers on August 2nd to approve a half-cent sales tax to fund the district and reduce their property tax. The half-cent sales tax will cost you $1 every time you purchase $200 of groceries or any type of other goods. So the state statute says that half of the amount collected from the sales tax must be given back to the taxpayers as a credit to their personal property tax. So this will lower the fire department portion of your property tax. So how much exactly will it save? The approval of the half-cent sales tax will reduce the district's portion of your property tax by the amount equal to 50% of the previous year's revenue collected from sales tax. The example is if we would collect $1 million, $500,000 would go to the fire district, and $500,000 would go towards lowering the fire department's portion of your personal property tax. We don't exactly know how much it will produce, so the numbers are off there, but the sales tax is expected to generate enough revenue to reduce the fire district's portion of your personal property tax in half. So if you paid $250 to Osage Beach Fire Department in 2022, you would expect to pay $125 beginning in 2024 and every year after, based on the percentage that we receive from the sales tax. Obviously, if you go into recession, you know, it would offset. If we collect more, it would offset the opposite direction. So currently, who pays for the visitors? Let's say, you know the story, Johnny and his buddies come here to the lake to visit from out of town. They have an accident. Right now, your firefighters take your fire trucks and your fire boats that your personal property tax pay for, and they go and help these people. Right now, every time the fire department responds to a call, you guys are paying for it. So this sales tax provides a method for the visitors to help pay for the fire department services as they make purchases. This will also allow visitors to help lower your personal property tax rate because half of the sales collected is credited back to you, the property owner, in the form of a reduction in fire department portion of your property tax. So the long-term benefits is this will reestablish our general operating budget because of the loss in revenue from the lawsuit. We're going to add 2 quick response medical units. We're going to replace 3 tankers that are over 30 years old. We've got 2 brush trucks that are over 20 years old. Establish a plan for regular replacement of fire apparatus. We actually have a plan for fire apparatus. Heck, it was actually put into motion when Kevin Rucker was the fire chief for replacing apparatus. But we were taking 12 cents of our budget and putting it in the capital replacement program for trucks, and we've had to reduce that down to 3 just to keep the fire department above float. So regular replacement of personal protective equipment, station enhancements due to growing staff, and employee retention and recruitment. The retention and recruitment is every one of the Osage Beach firefighters are EMTs. Mercy is hiring EMTs at $60,000 a year right now. So any of our 24 employees could quit and go to work for the ambulance. And we've lost a few because we're starting out at $12.15 an hour. So the August 2nd ballot language will read, shall the Osage Beach Fire District impose a sales tax of 0.5% for the purpose of providing revenues for the operations of the Osage Beach Fire District, including the purchase of equipment and facilities, and the total property tax levy on the properties in the Osage Beach Fire Protection District shall be reduced annually by the amount which reduces property tax revenues by the amount equal to 50% of the previous year's revenue collected from the state. And that's our sales pitch. If half of what we collect will go back to lower your personal property, and half will go to fund the fire department. So, if you have any questions, give us a shout.
Yeah. Any questions from the board? Comments? Mr. Becker?
Sir, thank you. Is it my understanding that this sales tax is looking to do everything the failed ballot initiative did except relocate that station?
Except for relocate that station, yes, sir.
Okay. And my second question is, obviously your district extends way beyond the city of Osage Beach. So how does that work with the collection of the sales tax and the property tax that the property owners pay?
Right. So there's businesses outside of the city limits, so they would also be collecting, the sales tax would also go up for them, the .5 cent. And it would lower everybody's taxes that votes for Osage Beach Fire District. That is in our, not just the city limits. Is that what you're asking? Everybody.
So are you proposing this tax in the county of Camden and the county of Miller as well?
That are inside our fire district.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It'll be a little bit of a nightmare for Roland Todd because he's got to figure out what businesses are in Camden County that are in Osage Beach's fire district, not in Osage Beach's city, like Lynn Creek's ours. So the businesses in Lynn Creek, anything down A Road, Y Road, KK,
So it's
Redheads.
it's not strictly a sales tax just in the Osage Beach city limits?
Correct.
Gotcha.
It's
Okay.
for our fire district.
Okay.
We're unique because we happen to cover the city and the county.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. And when you said everything except for the station relocation, we were also trying to put paramedics on last time with those quick response vehicles. We're just going to do EMTs with those quick response vehicles. We're not quite the same level of care, just because of the budgetary issue of it.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you guys so much.
Anyone else? Alderman Ross?
I was just saying thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you.
hey, thank you very much, all of you. Thank you. Yep. All right, we're going to move on. We have 3 bills tonight. The first one is Bill 22-43. It's an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, establishing a procedure to disclose potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain municipal officials. This is the first reading. Again, City Attorney.
Hoping to dump this one on the clerk.
Oh, no?
Missouri law requires you to have a conflict of interest policy. We are required to readopt it every 2 years and send a certified copy of the readopted policy to the Missouri Ethics Commission. So that's what this ordinance does. It is essentially legal housekeeping, but what it is a valuable reminder to the members of the Board of Aldermen and to the listening public that the city does have a conflict of interest policy and must disclose those things if there is a potential conflict of interest. And I know that several of you have at times recused yourselves from consideration of certain items where they may have impacted you personally, and that's because you've got this policy. So what we need to do is do a first reading, then do a second reading in 2 weeks, and then Tara will get a certified copy and send it off to the Ethics Commission, and we're good for another 2 years.
Very good. Comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
So moved.
Alderman Rose, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Rucker, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. All right, next we have Bill 22-44. It's an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri to enter into an intergovernmental cooperative agreement for the investment of public funds through the Missouri Securities Investment Program. This is the first reading. City Treasurer Carrie Bell.
Yes, Mayor and Board of Aldermen. Try to go through a couple documents here. Yes, I'm asking for the board to approve an ordinance to enter into an intergovernment agreement with the investments public through the Missouri Securities Investment Program. And to backtrack just a little bit, what we're looking for is options for the city's investments. And on May 20th, the city administrator sent a letter to our current banking and gave them a 90-day notice that we want to have more options with our investing. So that was in place. We're at our, the 90 days will be up in August 20th. So this is the first step to opening up other avenues for investing for the city. The MOSIPs is a very well-known investment pool for governments and is sponsored by the Missouri Municipal League, school boards. It's been in existence since '91. And let's see what else. Like I said, this isn't just we start this program. We're going to continue to look at rates, options in other areas. But this is the beginning of taking that first step to not just being with a one sole source banking institution. So do you have any questions for me about this program or the direction that the city wants to go?
Comments, questions from the board?
I did pass out kind of an updated, the latest rate sheet that they provided.
Carrie, I'm assuming
Alderman Rucker.
that FDIC, or is it all pledged?
Good question. In fact, Alderman Ross had asked me early on about the 2 columns on this rate sheet, and the CDs are FDIC insured. The term rates are covered by AAA rated options, so we will probably start with just the FDIC insured rates.
Anyone else? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the first reading?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Alderman Osteen, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. All right. Our last order of new business is Bill 22-52. It's an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, creating a new Chapter 150 in the Municipal Code, establishing a process for the city's consideration of redevelopment plans and tax abatement pursuant to the Urban Redevelopment Corporation's Law, Chapter 353 of the Revised Statute of Missouri. You're on board again there, Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. As the board will recall, 2 weeks ago, at our last meeting, you all approved the funding agreement with Jeff Tegetoff and Tegetoff Development for a proposed residential development at Sycamore Creek. He calls the preserve at Sycamore Creek. He is requesting Chapter 353 tax abatement and Chapter 100 sales tax assistance with that project. That is also why we hired Gilmore Bell this evening to supervise that. The city has not used either one of these development tools in the past that I can find. It certainly hasn't been in the 15 years I've been here, and I haven't found anything that says that the city's ever touched this before. To do so, we need a specific process, and so Mr. Spikerman at Gilmore Bell supplied us with a draft ordinance that I've worked over with Gina and Tara's assistants to make sure we had something that we thought was acceptable and work with us. This sets forth a procedure by which the developer will make the approach to the city, submit a complete plan. It details what the plans are supposed to be submitted. It also sets forth a procedure for public hearing notices, so that before this is adopted, there will be a published public hearing, and the public will be allowed to comment upon this. The same way that you have, there's no commission in this. It's not like a TIF commission. This goes straight through the Board of Aldermen only. What we did with Mark's draft, we did add 3 basic paragraphs on page 3. We required that the developer and the development plan contain a list of all the political subdivisions to whom we have to give notice. In other words, we're not going to have Tara or any county officials burdened with that responsibility. We're going to require, if the developer wants this tax abatement, the law requires we give notice to the districts. The developer can figure out who we're sending the notices to. That way, if there's a problem with the notice, it's on the developer, because all Tara's doing is sending out the notices. We're also requiring a complete background experience with our applicants. In other words, we want to know if you've got negative financial information, then we need to know it up front and now. And we use language that relates to the kinds of things that we had to do 20 years ago with the Pruitt Points bonds. That the applicant shall disclose any threatened or pending litigation or unresolved claims, the nature of which would need to be disclosed if the applicant were applying for or participating in a public debt transaction, or anything that might be considered a regulated securities transaction under securities law. In other words, we want to know who we're talking with up front. The final thing we reserved was, before submission of the ordinance to approve the plan, the applicant will cough up whatever else Gina says staff needs. Okay, that is the power to say to them, no, I want more detail on X issue or Y issue. After submission, we included a sentence that says, before the development plan is approved, if the Board of Aldermen wants any further information, the Board of Aldermen simply needs to request it, and the developer will submit that. All this ordinance does is create the legal structure to allow you to consider the plan as it is proposed, as required by state law. And then the plan as it is proposed will be brought forward by the developer. So this is the next step on the Preserve on Sycamore Creek project, and unless anybody has any questions, the lawyers humbly request you proceed forward with it.
All right. Thank you, City Attorney. Alderman Rose.
I do have a question about this. I presume it depends on the development, and it'll depend on the agreement with the developer as far as the age limit or time frame of the tax abatement of how many years, unless there's a set time that's always stationary, or is it decisive depending on the location and the developer and et cetera?
The statute allows up to 25 years.
Up to 25.
The same way the TIF statute, for instance, allows up to 23 years. And then it is up to the city and the developer to negotiate a time up to 25 years or less. I mean, anything less. So that depends on what the city and the developer decide to do in the development contract when the ordinance approving the plan is adopted.
Okay.
So there is a limit there, yes. There's a limit inside state statute. It simply would not be effective if it was outside state statute. And then you can have a tighter limit, or for instance, instead of 100% abatement, you might abate only 65%, okay? Or things like that. Those are all business points you're subject to negotiation within the framework of what the Urban Redevelopment Corporation's law and the state statutes allows us to do.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Alderman Becker.
I have a question. So in regards to the TIF law, the city has a TIF plan, kind of a, what we'd like to see. Do we have something similar to that being developed for this?
We are working on that whole procedures, and there will be a section added for these two, just like we already have for CID, TDDs, and TIFs.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Do I have a motion to approve first reading?
Motion to approve.
I'm sorry.
Motion to approve first reading.
All right. Thank you, Alderman Schuman, thank you. Didn't notice with your hair change, sorry.
Didn't know who that was.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Becker. I'm sorry, Rucker.
That's all right.
There we go. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. All right, that's our last item of business. We're going to move on to staff communications. We're going to start from the staff and move on to the alderman and then myself. So, Gina Woods, City Administrator.
Yes, Mayor, members of the board, I don't have too much to report because I'm just trying to catch up for being off, but it was nice to be off, so I appreciate no emails or calls, although I didn't have service anyway, so I wouldn't have known it. I do want to welcome Mitchell Moon, or Mitch, as I think what we've been calling him for short. I know I introduced him through email before I left, but many of you, it's probably the first time you've seen him face to face, so he is here tonight, and I'm sure he'll make his rounds and get to know everybody. He's been hitting the ground running, so it's the only thing I have.
All right, thank you. Assistant City Administrator Mike Welty.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Just a couple of quick updates for you. This past Monday at around 1 in the afternoon, we went live with, the Monday before last, we went live with Encode Cloud, the new Encode Cloud product that we had approved earlier this year. We've been working out a few bugs with it, but it actually went very smoothly, and everybody's working in the cloud now through Encode. So we are moving on to the second phase of our financial software upgrade, which will add the ability to scan in documents into the system and give us that more moving towards that paperless process. So we're just working through a few last minute tweaks, and sometime in the next couple of weeks we'll move on to that. And I do want to give kudos to April White. April really spearheaded this project. I couldn't have done it without her, and I just want to make sure that the board knows that your staff in the city treasurer's office, especially April White, has worked very hard on this, and she deserves to be recognized publicly. And then last but not least, I did hear from Alpha Graphics today. The street banners are done, and they will be delivered tomorrow. I believe Rob's intention is to start hanging them next week. So those street banners will hopefully be up by the end of the week, and we'll have those nice new street banners along the parkway. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Next, we have the city clerk, Tara Barrett, please.
Oh, thank you, Mayor, members of the board. City clerk's office just been busy pushing out business licenses, contractor licenses. We're probably processing between 2 and 3, sometimes 4 and 5 contractor licenses a day. So other than that, everything is running smooth in the clerk's office.
All right, thank you. City Attorney Ed Redker.
I think you all have heard enough from me tonight. I've got nothing else.
All right. Let's see, Officer O'Day.
So I do have a couple things. One of our sergeants, he completed the triology through the FBI LEADA Academy. It's a 3-part series for leadership, supervisor, command, and executive leadership. He completed it in May, so he's got a nice plaque and everything from them. We had another one in it, but that sergeant resigned, so the goal is to get all of our sergeants through that process in the next couple years. 911, we have 2 new ones in there. They've been in there about a month now. Seem to be doing pretty good. We did have an officer resign 2 days ago, or his last day was 2 days ago. He went to drive truck. So the flip side of that is we do have one graduating the academy as we speak, and that's where the chief is, down there in Springfield for her graduation, and she'll be coming on the 15th of this month. As far as the holiday weekend, I didn't receive any phone calls. Seemed pretty mild, and moving on to the next one.
Very good, thank you. All right, building official, Ron White.
Thank you, Mayor. Really, the only thing I have for you guys is news that many of you have already heard. Nick's True Value is open and a wonderful addition to the city. And I did issue the certificate of occupancy for Hobby Lobby this week. Word is that they've got their grand opening scheduled for August 8th, which those were probably the two biggest questions I've been receiving the past month. Mainly, when's Hobby Lobby open? So they will be open. There's nothing else standing in their way.
Very good. All right, thank you. Let's see, Public Works Director, Kevin Crooks.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple items. The 2021 lift station rehabs are completed, so that's a win for us. That's Huff Puff, Indian Point, and the Ledges lift stations. We just went through those today, and there's a couple small punch list items, but other than that, those stations are running great. The 2022 rehabs are all in Tantera. So we're taking a step back from that in lieu of the Tantera sewer assessment and making some decisions there about how those are going to be funded. There is a small grinder station that we're going to put in Tantera this year in-house. That's something we can do, so we're going to try something a little different there. And the only other thing I had is the odor control at Sands Lift Station on Basin Road. That's on Passover in the Parkway. The odor control there is actually is very effective as expected. However, we've essentially made a clean spot, and we've discovered that much of the odor that we're receiving is not from the station. It's actually from the lift stations, the gravity lift stations going down to the station. We didn't know that before because the air in the air was so affected that we couldn't actually tell that, but now we can because, again, the odor at the lift station itself is neutralized, and H2S is still presenting itself, and so we're looking at a 2023 tentative project to address the design flaws in the gravity sewer main that goes down to the station. That's where, if you guys have noticed, there is still some H2S release in the area, and that is why. It is actually not from the station, but from the road itself, from the manholes. Again, that'll be addressed in a 2023 project design over the next few months. The city is going to do some mitigating of that issue this week. We're actually going to go to the extreme of pouring concrete over those manholes to seal them. If we needed to get into them quickly, we can by way of a sledgehammer. But we've spent plenty of money there, and I'd like to see them. I'd like to see the equipment we bought do the best job it can. And so, again, we're going to do some temporary mitigation there, and hopefully that issue will look and smell better after that point. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Kevin. City Planner Kerry Pedersen.
Everything in my world's smelling fine. I don't have anything other than that. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. And our new Economic Development Specialist, Mitchell Moon.
Well, good evening. First, I want to take the time to thank the mayor and the staff at the City Hall for being so kind and welcoming here. The culture inside of this building is truly a habitat of hospitality and excellence. I am truly honored to join their team. Tonight marks my 8th day serving the constituents and business owners of Osage Beach. I see the role of economic development as bridging the gap between community stakeholders and local government. As an economic development specialist, I understand the role as serving our community members, consumers, business owners, and aldermen through waves of creative marketing, business development, retention, and governing. And what by this I mean meeting the needs of businesses in the community and assisting in local community development with the extension of government support. I believe if businesses have a friendly face that they are familiar with, then the cornerstone of business retention has been laid. As the Osage Beach mission statement says, our mission is to provide a supportive environment to conduct business and a premier visitor destination. As a young, new face to this lake area, my first objective is to build rapport with our local community stakeholders. I plan to serve this community in the capacity of being as publicly present as possible. I want to learn from this city, and I'm eager to serve this city. I am truly grateful to be the Osage Beach Economic Development Specialist, and to the business owners, citizens, and aldermen that are here and present and watching at home online, my door is always open. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mitchell. All right, moving on to the alderman. Alderman Rucker, please.
The only thing I'd have is I just want to make some clarity to keep everybody out of trouble. If I might ask Carl, you were representing the what group were you representing tonight?
So we're registered as the Citizens for Lower Property Tax.
Thank you. That's who was presenting tonight. It is not the Osage Beach Fire District, okay? I don't want to get the fire district in trouble for doing something that they aren't supposed to by law. So I wanted to make sure that was clear. Our agenda was supposed to had misinformation, and I wanted to make sure that the public and everybody was aware that that was a presentation, because the fire district can't do that as a district, but the group that they're representing can. So I just wanted to clarify that to keep all the attorneys not having anything to do. That's all I have.
Very good.
I'm sorry, can you say that? What's the group again, one more time? I'm sorry.
Citizens for Lower Property Tax.
Thank you.
All right, Alderman Schuman.
Just that it seemed like a very good, busy 4th of July down here. It was good to see that there wasn't very much activity on the police department side. We all like that. But just enjoyed all the fireworks and hope everybody had a great time.
Thank you much. Alderman Becker.
Welcome, Mitch. And I have a question. I'm not sure who to direct it to. I've heard a rumor that Hobby Lobby would have been open by now, except for some sewer issues. Is there any truth to that we know of?
When you say sewer issues, they had some design issues and some things that held up the completion of the installation of the sewer.
Okay.
There wasn't any city sewer issues, nothing that we maintained as far as the
Okay.
It was purely just the development and the installation.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Alderman Osteen, please.
I have a few things this evening. First, I would like to welcome Mitchell in his role as the new Economic Development Specialist for the city. No pressure, but we have high expectations and are expecting some miracles from you. So, good luck. Secondly, this is for the police department. What was the name of the sergeant who completed those FBI courses?
Sergeant Joel Shelton.
Joel, can you please send him our congratulations on behalf of the city and the Board of Aldermen for completing those courses, continuing his education and his development?
Yes.
My last item, and this is something basically at our last Alderman communications in the last meeting in June, I gave a little speech about the tendency to sometimes focus on the small details, therefore taking your eye off the big picture. I want to reiterate that statement again, especially in light of some of the recent developments with the TIF program for the outlet mall. I think there's still opportunity there for us, but we once again need to keep our eye on the bigger picture and not get so tied up in the minute details. That's all.
Thank you very much. All right, Alderman Rose, please.
First of all, welcome, Mitch. Very happy to have an economic developer. Been wanting that ever since I've been in office. Thank you, and I know you'll do a good job. Also like to welcome True Value Hardware, and we're so anxious or glad to have it on our end, I should say my end, my ward. I stopped in there the other day, and if you haven't been in there, it's well equipped and very, very efficient. And in fact, the manager, Chris, used to be the manager at Deerberg's. But anyway, I just want to be sure you stop in to say hello and check it out. I heard that there's an extension to the contract. Mr. Beeler, could you confirm that? on the contract with Simon and Foster's and Legacy?
The financing agreement has been extended, correct?
Excuse me?
I believe it's the financing agreement they have.
The purchase agreement has been extended.
Okay. Well, I would just like to say that, again, we all know how much it is needed in our city to have that outlet mall, whether they do it or anybody else. But I just think, well, we've got it in our hand. We still don't have all the details worked out by any stretch. But I would just like to have us rediscuss and go back almost from square one and just trying to decide who we're going to hire. Apparently it wasn't agreeable on the management company, and I would just like, and I respect all the due diligence that was done with the mayor and the attorney and the city administrator, but I would just like to say, I would just like to have us regroup. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Ross.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, welcome Kevin back. I hope you had a great trip. I haven't got a chance to talk to you, but hopefully it was a great trip. Someday I'd like to take that trip. I also want to welcome Mitch. As I haven't been waiting quite as long as Phyllis has, but I've been waiting a long time for an economic development specialist to sit there. And I look forward in the next 2 to 3 years for you to be an economic development director with the group, because you've demonstrated how valuable you are and what you can do. So just a few expectations there, but I look forward to meeting you and sitting down and talking with you. As far as the outlet mall, I'm just going to say a few things, and that is this. I hope that we can regroup if, in fact, that can be done. I hope that communication can be clear. I hope that expectations can be set. But I want to be very clear about my personal, or my, on this seat, thoughts around the financing of this project. I will never, ever support a 23-year pre-construction loan. And that's what we've been asked. And the problem with it was asked and told and communicated with us within the last week and a half of the project. Someone can never, I say never ever, someone's going to have to do a hell of a lot of convincing, excuse my French, for me to ever believe that we should be a part of a 23-year pre-construction loan. And that's the simple bottom line of what we were asked. And I don't know any bank that I can go to and say, hey, I'd like to have a 30-year loan, a 30-year pre-construction loan to build my house. And because banks don't do that, that I've ever found. And so whenever the financing is right, I want, as much as anyone here, for the outlet mall to be a vibrant asset to our community and our city. I'd like to see hundreds of employees working over there, okay? But if the city's going to be involved, I think we have to do it the right way. And I don't believe that 23-year pre-construction loans are the right way to do it. Lastly, on other notes, Mike, can you tell me how we doing out at the airport? I was actually at O'Reilly's today, and a worker was in there talking. Are they finishing up?
So the actual apron was completed right before the 4th of July holiday.
Okay.
They're working on there's a realignment of one of the entrances that they're working on now. But we do have full use of the apron as it stands. We're just short one of the entrances to it, and they're working on that. My understanding is that will be completed before the end of this month.
Okay. So
There's
we're
also some
90%
seating.
done.
There's some seating that may have to be put off just because of the heat that may be done later, but that's all kind of just minor stuff.
Okay. So we're 90% complete, would you say? Or better?
Pretty close to it, yes, sir.
Good. Okay. And then, Kevin, how are we doing sewer staffing?
Sewer staffing? We're doing well, still down one, so if you know anybody,
One
send them
is
my
all.
way, but doing well.
Close. 7 out of 8, I think, right?
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10, okay.
Yes, sir.
Fair enough, good. That's all I have. Thanks for the time.
All right, thank you very much. First of all, I too want to welcome Mitch. I've told everybody it's nice to have a new guy. I'm no longer the new guy, so walking around City Hall has been kind of nice. It was also kind of neat when they first mentioned his name, he said he was from Tipton, he was an ag guy. I'm like, that name kept ringing a bell to me. And being FFA fundraising for 30 some odd years, I have to know this guy. Well, he starts putting stuff in his room, his office, and he brings me a plaque. And I presented it to him in 2017 at the Missouri State FFA Convention, Harmison's hometown fundraising. So I've met this guy back in 2017, so it's kind of neat. So welcome aboard. And for those of you, we've talked to, he does want to reach out to the prominent members of the community. He wants to get to know people. So if you have an event coming up, bring him to it, invite him. He wants to meet people. He's vested, so he's eager to learn, as I was. Yeah. So anyway, welcome aboard. Now, lastly, the mall. I'm going to spend a few minutes on this because I did have lunch today with Dan Foster. We both had Diet Coke, full disclosure. But we had a nice meeting. He did explain to me that the funding has been extended, at least the possibility to buy. I just want to be real careful, and same thing I told Dan, we've been transparent through this whole thing. Communication certainly could have been better. But I just want people out there to know, I really think we need to be careful not to play this in the public eye as that the big bad city shut down something that everybody wants. The city also wants that. The city knows, and especially we've talked with Mitch too, that's #1 priority, is to get that thing up and going. So appreciate the people coming out to the public hearing talking about if the mall goes away and their jobs are going to be lost, and we're not going to let that happen. But we also need to have the latitude as a city to do diligence to make sure for a $186 million project, for $64 million in bonding, the city needs the ability to make sure that we check our risk, make sure the risk is a valid risk. With that being said, just to clarify for the record, and I said this at the last meeting, but I'll say it again because it has been played out in the press, not in the city's favor. The city did not stop this process, okay? What happened was we had a funding agreement. We picked a financial advisor, and I'm going to tell you again how that came about, just so if anybody says, well, why did they pick that financial advisor? After the public hearing, and when it was 11-0 that the TIF Commission voted to move it forward to the Aldermen, the very next day, our financial advisors out of St. Louis said, you need to hire a financial advisor as soon as possible. And just to be clear, we did not already have a financial advisor. So we were given a name of somebody that had worked on a TIF project in the past. Myself, the city administrator, the city attorney, we said, all right, there's one name, but this is a magnitude that none of us seen before. Can you give us a couple other references to check? So we received 2 more, so we had a total of 3. And we sat there and looked at them. We only received a couple sentences about each one. One sentence in one of those was Columbia Capital, and it simply said something, I'm paraphrasing, that this financial advisor has had experience with the legacy group in the past. Well, we were up against a deadline. The developers wanted us to hurry this project along. So I said, it makes sense to me that if they already have experience with this developer, it makes sense, since we're at such a timeline, to move forward with them so they could be already going down that process, know a little bit about it, rather than starting from square one. Well, that turned out to be a game changer. And the developers in Kansas City said, we do not like that financial advisor. We do, and if that happens, this project's in jeopardy. It went before the Board of Aldermen, and it was voted 4-2 to keep that financial advisor. So it's already in motion. So we kept working on a financial agreement. The financial agreement basically is the nuts and bolts of the agreement. Both parties, I don't like to use sides because we're trying to work collectively, but both sides have the opportunity to create a financial agreement that says, all right, for the amount of the loan, for the TIF, here's what we expect of you, and they lay it out. That very first draft goes to the other party. They generally take a look at it. They say, we agree with this one, we don't agree with this one, we think this is an, and they can change it, and then it goes back to us, and back and forth. However, it never got to that point. We received a letter, I received a letter canceling the funding agreement because of our choice of the financial advisor, and they didn't like our first draft of the redevelopment agreement. I accepted their letter of termination, and we put everything on pause. Because under the funding agreement, the developers pay for all of our outside counsel to protect the city. So rather than continue going and having that just build up, everything's on pause. So with that being said, that's how we got here today. So I don't want people out in the community to think that the city shut it down. We still want it to happen. I was happy to hear that the contract has been extended. Mr. Foster and I did speak today. Mr. Beeler and I, you and I spoke on the phone last week. We still hope this can go through. The city did not shut this down. We want it to work. But we also want the latitude to check the investment. So with that being said, there's certain city statutes, state statutes, things that I have limited powers, the board has limited powers. Since the Board of Aldermen has already selected Columbia Capital, it's just not a matter of me picking up the phone and cancel it. Right now, everything's on pause. But what would have to happen to move forward is first, any financial investments or funding that the developers have paid, let's call it a pot, we draw from that pot to pay for our financial help. That needs to be either given back, or if they owe us more, we need a clean slate, and I know that city administrator is working on that. It'll go out probably tomorrow. Here's where we are. If you want us to hit that pause button to start things again, we need to make sure that any other funds are paid. That would be the first part. The second part, if we were going to change the financial advisors, one of the 4 aldermen that voted for Columbia Capital, correct me, I would say it?
Motion to reconsider could only have happened at this meeting. The door's already closed.
Okay. Well, it'd have to new meeting, but basically we'd have to vote to fire them. I can't do it.
You have to have a whole new ordinance.
So we're talking about 2 or 3 weeks, a whole new board meeting and so forth. So point being is we can't, as a city, say we don't like them, we're going to cancel it, start new. We can't do it under state statute. So that's where we are today. We hope it goes forward. I've said many times the Fosters are great for the community. We hope it can go forward. So I just wanted to clear the air. It's not just us not wanting this developed. We do want this to go forward. All of us do. So we don't need to play this out in the public as one against the other. Let's just work towards the common good, and hopefully we can get this thing done. So, and that's all I have, folks. Sorry to be so long-winded, but my door is always open. Feel free to call, give me a call, come see me. And with all that, you have a good evening, and this meeting is, oh, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Alderman Rose, do I have a second?
Second, and thank you, Mayor, for clarifying all that information. That was very,
Yes.
very valuable. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you all. All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Have a good night. Kevin.
How come in other meetings they have a gavel? Oh, how come in other meetings they have a gavel? Like in P&Z, how come Susan uses the gavel?